What's up guys? I know it's been forever since I put out my last video, but I had to figure out what kind of content to provide on this platform and also how to structure it. I figured I'd share with you my approach to fitness in order to make normal people understand it, at least from my perspective, while still trying to provide the best content possible and of course backing my shit up with scientific data. So today I felt like talking about our metabolism, what it is and what makes it up. I hope it won't be too boring, but I don't promise it. But let's get started. First of all, let's define it. For metabolism, we mean all of the processes that our body goes through in order to convert food into energy. Now, the food comes in as energy and it's measured in calories. When we calculate our total daily energy expenditure, which is the calories that we burn in a day, it comes as a number of calories that we need to balance throughout our nutrition. And to explain this concept, I'm going to introduce you to the first law of thermodynamics, which you've probably studied in school, but whatever, which states that in an isolated system, the energy contained is constant. Now, we can transform the energy, but we cannot create nor destroy it. Let me write it down. Now, in order to explain it, I'm going to use the car example. So, when you put gasoline into the tank of your car now becomes your isolated system. The energy is now contained into the tank as chemical form, right? When now this energy flows into the engine, it burns with oxygen in the air. So now it becomes from chemical form into heat. So it's now heat energy. This energy creates expanding gases that push through pistons, which eventually will turn the wheels in order to make the car walk. So the energy is now converted into mechanical form. Now, all of the energy is not 100% stored, meaning that some of the energy is going to be used in sound, some of it is going to be heat, while most of it is going to be fuel, which is going to make your car walk. The same thing applies to our body with the food intake. So, if our TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure, would be of 2500 calories, for example, depending on how much we are eating, we are going to transform the energy in our isolated system, which is our body, depending on the quantity. Let me write an example. So, if we'd have 2500 calories of TDEE a day, it would be drawn like this, right? If our food intake would be the same, for the energy balance equation, energy in this case equals the energy out. Therefore, there is no change in body composition, right? Since the equation is balanced, the energy in is 2500, while the energy out, basically the energy output activity, is 2500. Therefore, there is no change in body composition. Now, if instead our TDEE would be greater than the food intake, let's put it at 3000 calories, there would be this gap of 500 calories missing. Therefore, the energy in would be less than the energy out, so there would be a change in body composition, which would be where do I write it? Either fat or muscle loss. And this is basically how all of the diets that make you lose fat work. This is the principle behind it. Now, if instead our TDEE would be less than our food intake, let's put it at the same numbers. So 3000 calories worth of food with a TDEE of 2500 calories. There would be still this gap of 500 calories that would make our energy in greater than our energy out. Therefore, there would be change in body composition, but this time it would be either fat or muscle or both gain. And this is going to be basically how you put on weight. So, as you can see, the most important number to be known is our TDEE, since by knowing that, we know how to tweak either our food intake or energy expenditure in order to either gain weight or lose weight depending on our goals. So, what makes this number up? Our TDEE, let's put as the same example of 2500 calories, is going to be made by the sum of different variables that vary for every person. So, the TDEE is made of the BMR / RMR plus TEF plus TEA plus NEAT. These are all variables that change for every person. Now, the BMR is your basal metabolic rate. Basically, the least amount of energy that your body needs just to cover its basic functions. How do you measure it? The most reliable way would be to measure it when sleeping, since you're basically not doing anything except for living. And yeah, it would be the least amount of calories that your body would need in order to survive. Now, it's different from your RMR, which is your resting metabolic rate, simply because the resting metabolic rate is measured differently, since you measure it basically when you're resting, but you're not sleeping. So there is a greater caloric expenditure, which is at around 5 to 10% more. Now, the BMR and the RMR also change based on your body weight and lean body mass, meaning that the more you weigh, the more calories are going to expand by moving, since a heavier load needs more energy to be carried, right? Also, the more muscle you're going to have, the more caloric expanding you're going to be, since 1 pound of lean body mass burns at around 6 calories. Now, the second variable is the TEF, which is the thermic effect of food. And it's basically a slight bump of calories from your body in order to process the nutrients you're ingesting. So, for example, if you're eating 100 calories of something, not all of those 100 calories are going to be stored in your body. And this varies for every macronutrient. So, for example, if you're going to eat 100 calories of protein, not all of the 100 calories are going to be stored, since some of those are going to be used by your body in order to cover functions such as muscle protein synthesis and so on. So the differences are: for protein, it is around 20 to 30%. Carbs, it's 5 to 6%. well fat is around 3%. So if you eat 100 calories of protein, you're basically storing around 70 to 80, and so on for all of the three macronutrients. Now, the TEA and NEAT are the most variable variables. Why? The TEA is basically the thermic effect of activity, which is everything you can relate to daily exercising. So it could be walking, playing sports, I don't know, whatever you can think of that it is an activity. And it varies for everyone, since there are people who might be going to the gym like once a week, twice a week, every day, twice a day. So depending on how many times you're going to exercise, the TEA variable is going to go up. Now, the last one is the NEAT, or the non-exercising activity thermogenesis. This one is basically every activity that you do in a day that is not exercising. For example, it's, I don't know, me gesticulating when I'm talking, walking around while I'm talking itself. So everything you can think of that you're doing spontaneously. And this burns a hell of a lot of calories, since it can go from 200 to 1000 calories per day. So, as you can see, this is basically what makes up your TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. Now, how do we find it out and how do we calculate it? We're going to see this one in another video. Yeah, that's basically it. I think I've covered everything. If you liked the video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And until the next time, peace out, guys.